Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Hyperight Data Talks. Today, I'm here with Lennart Hedlund from Svenska Handelsbanken. Welcome, Lennart. It's great to have you with us today. So, as a past speaker at the Data Innovation Summit 2024, Lennart spoke on data domains, data products, and data mesh. And this time, Lennart will be speaking at the Data 2030 Summit coming up in Stockholm. So, Lennart, to start with, I would like to ask you, can you share more about yourself and your professional background?
Hi, yes, of course, I can do that. And thank you for having me. Yes, my previous professional experience spans from a devoted developer within various industries and products, like starting with stock exchanges and developing for those, and high volume other transactions industries. I think that I like to still be a developer, so I keep my fingers dirty from time to time just to stay top of things and understand where the future tech is actually taking us. And I think that actually being a developer and proof concepting all the time is actually keeping yourself on top of things, regardless if it's data, cloud or not cloud, and so forth. So that's one thing. But I'm also a born and bred consultant for many years with a customer obsessions focused, where we actually try to stay top of how to deliver things, being accurate to the problem and solving the problems. But speaking of that, what does make a good developer and consultant? Well, that you collaborate and understand. So whiteboard is the number one tool that you actually can utilize to be able to both understanding the problem, but also solving the problem, being like a pair programming or mocking or something, scratching your head, standing in front of the whiteboard. That is so amazing. And seeing how you both understand and comes to, aha, this is actually how we can do things. And then it's just to do it. But nevertheless, if you understand, then you know how you actually can do. Nowadays, I'm working as an enterprise architect. I work for the Svenska Handelsbanken. And my primary focus is actually on master data management, and data strategies, how they actually should be elaborated and proof concepted in for the future development of these things in the bank. Svenska Handelsbanken is a very old bank, and so is our systems, but they are not bad at all. No, they are very well in shape, but we also need to move into the future business of data and data processing. So that is a few words about me, but please feel free to ping me anytime, LinkedIn or somewhere.
Thank you for this introduction. You mentioned that you work with master data, and also you will be speaking a little bit more about this topic and also knowledge graphs. So my second question would be, can you share a little bit more on this topic that you'll be presenting at the summit?
Yes, absolutely. You know, master data management, the master data is actually the foundation, the core of your business. Like you have products, you have agreements, you have parties. That can be a triangle of core business, core data for your business. So having that triangle and then or whatever entities that it consists of, and then building out of your business problem. Now, let's say that you would like to look at it from a fraud perspective. So having these massive amounts of data, how can you actually leverage them to make you truly understands it within a second? Well, or split second. Well, having a graph, which is totally understandable for a human when you're looking at it, that's one thing. But second is that actually is very, very, very easy for a computer to understand the graph, how it actually have entities and relationships. And putting them into a concept where you actually can turn them around swiftly in a different views makes it so powerful for actually both, for example, for a fraud investigation perspective, but also from a customer relation management perspective, where you can have your customers, you can have your products, and you can also ask, well, now what if? And then hanging this together with a machine learning model, which can actually predict where you want to go or can go in the next step, or probably should stay out of as well. So you can also ask the negative questions. That is some of the thoughts about it. So to summarize, the master data that you have in the company, putting that together into some kind of other business concepts, is the foundation for actually both building out the next steps, but also to understand and answering to the reporting and the reporting requirement you probably have on your business, both from a reporting to authority perspective, but also from legal and all other perspectives, as well as internal.
And also, can you explain how knowledge graphs can complement the master data management when it comes to enhancing the accuracy of data?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Well, when you have a graph, and you always have like quality measurements on your data, and you see kind of how big confidence intervals, for example, you can have on your data. And then if you have a knowledge graph, not only can you have like the thing you're actually measuring on, you can also ask side questions and what if scenarios, putting them alongside and compare. So noticing not only from the actual where actually is drifting, but also connected to the history, so you can see actually from the quality measure perspective how you can which direction you actually are moving given the actions you actually have taken. So you can see your actors, how they're actually behaving in comparison to other, and two, you can compare to your own history and see where you actually are moving trend-wise.
And when it comes to management of data, some organizations do struggle with legacy systems that complicate modern technology integration, and this also impacts the accuracy of data. So why would you say that data literacy is maybe still a big concern for organizations of even all sizes?
Well, if we speak about legacy, we must first understand that legacy is our gold. That is our history, that is why we are here and everything. So we should not throw that away. We should keep that in our golden safe and have it with us, because that is actually the explanation why we are where we are. And also motivation we're actually existing today. Nevertheless, the legacy cannot be the way we're doing future business, because technology shifts always put constraints on yourself. Like if you look at the cars, they were first driven by steam, petrol, now it's electricity. I don't know if it's hydrogen after that or if it's something else, but nevertheless, we have technology shifts that you must move your data with you. So if you're looking at the legacy, okay, it's good that you have your core, the data we still have tomorrow, but how can you actually promote it so it's still available and valid for tomorrow as well? So then you need to be actually on top of things in terms of how you can use it with modern tech. So if you take like a mainframe computer, which is very good what it's doing, but it's not so good at exporting data for reading purposes, both from cost perspective, but also performance from a distributed world where we're actually existing. So then you actually need to connect it to some kind of other data storage, you can say, where you can promote it for reading or consumption. So that is why we need to take legacy and encapsulate and abstract it, not throw it away, but keep it so it's still available and accessible in a highly performant way when you need it at your fingertips, without interfering with the old technology, but make it available for the new consumption patterns that you may have, still able to actually upgrading the old systems without interfering with your current business, without stopping anything at all. So you'll be 24/7, 365 still tomorrow.
What are some, let's say, challenges when it comes to this integration, and how can actually organizations address these challenges?
Yes. One strategy that you must have in mind is to have how can actually your data be available. So the strategy for keeping your data available, and not just that you can read it, but also you can read it in the most cost efficient way, you can say. And cost is not just money, it is also the resource and resource consumption. So given that you have a limited amount of resources, they need to actually run the business, but they also need to develop the business, because all business today are at least DevOps, if not DevSecOps. So not only do they need to run it, but they also need to develop it. So how can they spend resources wisely? So resource management is one of the strategies that you need to take care of. The second part of that one is also to keep your staff on top of things, both from knowledge-wise, but also understanding where do you want to go tomorrow. So the vision and strategies from the C-level must be propagated to everyone, so it understands and embrace it. So they actually can, since we are in a distributed world, since we are in a more or less autonomous team world, they also need to understand and embrace where we're going together. So having that also in a lively discussion all the time with the teams is tremendously important. That is also one of the strategies. And the other thing is keeping your knowledge, the knowledge strategy. How can you actually educate and make sure that your staff has the correct knowledge and skill sets, so they actually can be tomorrow relevant tomorrow as well, not only for themselves but also for the company and for the business that your company is performing. That is two most important things.
And as mentioned before, you work at for Svenska Handelsbanken.
Yep.
From your perspective, what are some concerns that banks have when it comes to the transition from on-premise to cloud systems? How can they balance security with the advantages of cloud technology?
Yes, that is truly a challenge. How can we actually move from being on-prem to the cloud? We had this as a strategy that we want to, but also given that we are proud of that being the most secure bank in the world, I think we are actually classified as. So we're very proud of that one, at least one of the top banks from security perspective. And we would like to stay that tomorrow as well. We don't want to jeopardize that one. It is one of our proudest. So what we do is actually that it takes a long time for us because we are so into details in terms of how we actually should move into the cloud. We do understand the benefits of being in the cloud with the data, but we do also understand all the legal requirements and all the other that we have from the authorities on top of us that we need to comply to. So what we do is actually we look at the compliance and requirements first and foremost and see how we actually can provide the data for that one. We of course will do that. And the second is actually if it's cloud or on-prem, it's not such important for us as that we actually are complying to. So we do not jeopardize security. We put always security first. And if the security says, no, we have an issue here or whatever, then we don't go. So that is also keeping us down from a tempo where we don't take a risk which we can't manage properly. So that is actually one of the challenges for us. And in terms of availability, yes, we would like to be an event-driven data business, but if that puts jeopardize our security, we don't do it. So security first, and secondly is the modern tech. And that also is a cost-driving factor, of course. We know that steam machines is much more expensive to drive than a modern electrical engine.
And what about when it comes to fraud concerns? Are there any specific measures that can be taken by banks and other financial institutions to address such concerns, specifically concerns that are associated with cloud technology?
We know that we are targeted every day with fraud attacks. We know that we every day are targeted with that people try to break into the bank and steal our data. And we know that we are under attack every day, that all our employees is subjected for different schemes and everything. So we really need to be on top of things. And that is actually three different things that I just mentioned that we're addressing. And first is, of course, that the people awareness, that we do be aware about how the bad guys are actually behaving, so we can mitigate that one with being aware about the patterns and behaviors. And we always keep constantly educating, and of course with that one. And the second thing is that we're keeping our hardware or our computer systems up to the limit of the highest security measurement, so they are being extremely hard to actually break into. And the third thing is that we're keeping a track on all the data flows all the time, so we see different patterns in real time. We see patterns, we see movement, we see what people are doing. And speaking of that, that is also where the knowledge graphs and other graphs is actually helping out tremendously, because it's so much easier to spot fraudulent behaviors, you can say, in these areas than it used to be using relational data. So I'm not saying that graph is not related, but relational data models where you're actually doing join by join by join, which is very slow when it comes to actually pin spot fraudulent behaviors and others fraudulent activities that you would like to spot on. And also that you know that people many times works in rings, and how we can actually easily be spotted by using graphs. So yes.
You mentioned knowledge graphs and other graphs, so I would like to ask you how can the implementation of a, let's say, graph database benefit, for example, an HR or CRM department or any other department in an organization compared to, let's say, traditional data management approaches? What advantages do graphs offer when it comes to managing and utilizing data?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if you look at it, if you say SQL data, relational SQL relation data, and you look at the knowledge graphs, and then you may ask, I don't see the difference, because in the relation database, you have a parent and you have children and your children of children. And in a graph, you have your parent, and then you have your child, and then you have a relationship in between. But if you're looking at internally in the databases, you can see that you actually have much higher performance building the data as a graph compared to having a relational, because what's actually technically difference is that in a relational database, you have not materialized the relationships, you have only materialized the entities. So it's always heavy for a relational database to actually find out who is actually the children's children. While as in a graph, you have the relationship already materialized, and then it's always, you can always ask on the relationship directly, and the relationships can always have entity data attached to them, or you can always have parameterized data onto them, so it's actually easy to find out immediately. So that makes them much faster. But then again, if you're looking from an HR or CRM perspective onto the data, you're having your entities, you have the relationships, that's very easy and very fast to actually turn them around and ask it the other way around, or other parameters that you may be interested in and investigate into. But you can also add on, for example, a machine learning model on top of that, that can look for unknown things, unsupervised models or others. So you actually can find out new businesses and new entities that you didn't thought of before. And that is also tremendously useful, not only for HR and CRM perspective, but it's also very useful from all outlier perspective or fraudulent perspective or others. So that makes it very high performant and useful. So being high performant and useful is also lowering actually the transaction cost of asking. So that is also important, because we're not just asking one thing a day, we're asking billions of things today. So keeping the transaction cost down, not only from a money perspective, but also from resource consumption perspective, is very important.
And I'm curious about customer data access. So with the European Commission's Open Finance Initiative, understanding its key elements, is crucial for financial institutions adopting to this framework. So I would like to ask you, in your opinion, how has this initiative, or how might this initiative transform the customer data access?
You're talking about FIDA, and yes, that's an initiative from the European Committee, and we know it's coming one way or another. It has not been legislated yet, but it's yet to come. But we see it, and the time schedule is something like 27, 28-ish right now. But we don't know. But we need to be prepared for it because, sorry, once they have that as a decision, we must comply. And we can see that the development cycle for that one would be probably not more than 2 to 3 years. And 2 to 3 years is a very short time. We're talking about developing a bank. So we really need to be on top of things here. And it, to answer to your question, it will turn everything upside down, because we must not only being able to actually open up our banks for the given that the customer authorize us to do that and want us to do that, delivering the data to other who needs to consume it, given that the customer has said yes, it's okay. And the other way around as well. We may be interested in, for example, a company's company, and then we need to have that data because we would like to do a better interest evaluation or whatever. And then we need to consume that data. So it's a two-way road here. Both we need to expose it to others, but the other thing is also we would like to listen to others and get it into the bank and make it useful in our CRM system and HR systems. So
thank you, Lennart. I'm sure that our listeners will value your insights. We are excited to hear even more from you at the upcoming summit, which for those of you listening is just around the corner. And for anyone interested in learning more about everything data, join us at the summit, connect with both Lennart and other professionals, and dive into topics like knowledge graphs, master data, cloud technology, open source, and many, many more. And Lennart, thank you once again. And it was a pleasure to speak with you today. See you at the summit.
yes, thank you. And we see you at the summit. And please approach me.